Alright, today we're going to do a little bit of a quick vocab review on some terms that you need to know. If you ever forget what one of these means, you can always come back to this video. So, the first definition that we have is a variable. We've talked about this before. It's a letter or symbol that represents one or more numbers. So a variable could be X, Y, K, anything you want to use for something you don't know. So like for a number you don't know, you can call it, you can give it a variable. You just need to make sure you tell what it means. Okay, the second word is an expression, and let's kind of read through this definition. So an expression is a combination of numbers, variables, and symbols. Okay, so it has kind of all of those. So for example, this would be an expression. It has 2x plus 3 times 5 minus 2x plus 8. That would be an expression because it has more than one term together. Okay, this would also be an expression, 5 minus 2x. It has more than one term together. Okay, so again, an expression could be something like 4x plus 8. It's an expression because it has more than one term and it has an operational symbol. Now, in this expression, there's two kind of smaller things, and those are called terms. You kind of heard me say that before. So there's two terms in this expression. Okay, and the one up here, there would be, here's a term. This whole thing would be a term, and this would be a term. So kind of three things there. So those are terms within the expression. Okay, so now here is the definition of a term, so you can kind of see that now. So a term is a part of the expression separated by addition and subtraction. Okay, so I just went over this one. So if you had 2x plus 3 times all of this plus 8, there are three terms in here. Here's a term. Okay, the next term is all of this because it all goes together. And here's the next term. Do you guys notice how the plus signs kind of separate them? I could also have this, 4x minus 8 plus 3. There would still be three terms here, the 4x, the 8, and the 3. And they're separated by those addition and subtraction signs. Okay, here's another expression up here. If you look at it, how many terms do you think it has? Well, it has two terms, 5 and then 2x. So two different terms. All right, now there is another definition called a coefficient. All right, so that's the next one if you kind of look at the definition up there. So a coefficient, let's kind of read through it, is the number part of a term. Okay, so here's what this means for coefficient, and then you can read through the rest. If I had this term, 4x, and let's just say plus 8y, the coefficient is the number part. So this 4, that's the coefficient. So the whole thing together is a term, but the number part, that's called the coefficient. Okay, let's look at this one up here. If you guys look right here, what do you think the coefficients are in this term, or in this expression? Well, the 7, that would be the coefficient in that term, and here's the 15. So it's the number part of those terms. So those are a couple other words that you'll hear me saying. All right, so another definition is a constant term. So let's kind of read through that. A constant term is a number that is not multiplied by a variable. So it can't be multiplied. So let me kind of show you what that means. We have 2x plus 3 times 5 minus 2x plus 8. So let's look at each of those terms. We know there's three of them, okay? We want to know which one's the constant term. Well, if you look at this first term, you can see it's being multiplied by a variable. So that can change. That's not a constant term. We don't know what it's going to equal. If you look at this term, again, you can see that you're multiplying the 3 times that and the 3 times that. So that's going to change too. So that is not a constant term. The only one that is a constant term is this plus 8. This is always going to be plus 8. I'm never going to times it by anything or do anything else to it. So I always have this one term that's constant. So that's my constant term. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, our next word is factor. So if we kind of look at this next one, it's called a factor. Okay, here's what a factor is. So a factor is part of a multiplication expression. So let me kind of show you what that means. If I had 4 times 8 equals 32, my two factors are 4 and 8. It's the two things I'm kind of multiplying. So if you look at this one, 3 parentheses, 5 minus 2x. There's two factors. It's the two things you're multiplying. Well, you're multiplying 3, and you're multiplying 5 minus 2x. So that's a factor, and that's a factor. So two things you're multiplying. So it's a part of a multiplication expression. Now, you could have more than that. You could have 3 times 9 times 2x. Now, there's not just two factors, there's 3. It's the three things I'm multiplying, 3, 9, and 2x. So I have 3 factors in that case. All right, so that was just a quick little vocab review for some of the terms in this chapter right now. So those were a couple vocab terms that you should know. You can always come back and watch this if you need to.